Good morning, CLC. Welcome to Sunday. I hope you guys have made it through this week relatively unscathed. I know there are a few people out there that have bumps and bruises and busted pipes and things like that. But with that, we in the CLC community are here for you. And I invite you now to say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And now, in this moment, I invite everyone to just take a collective breath. Breathe in the cool, crisp air. Breathe out all that no longer serves you. Know that in this past week, even though you may not have had lights or water, light flows within you. Love flows through you. We are all connected by the collective breath. We're all connected by one universal source of love and light. It is with that and in that I invite you and remind you, universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I am willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I am grateful for the good in your life.
I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Now, I open my eyes to the world around me and turn joyfully to anyone present physically in the room or virtually on this broadcast and sharing gratitude and confidence and saying, I am grateful for all the good in your life.
Good morning. Hello, Creative Life. You've had a week, have you not? We warned you about this sort of thing last Sunday. We were all kind of sketchy, and we were looking out the windows, and we were thinking, how is this going to play out? And here's how it played out. And some of it, 10% of it was weather, 90% of it was poor planning. Remember this, not with hate, not with anger, but remember this with votes. Remember this with accountability presently and votes in the future as we move forward. Because you see, winter in Southeast Texas, I had thought, I've been here a long time, it's the one season you could trust. You know? I mean, spring is allergy season, fall is hurricane season, summer is summer. And winters are mild and nice, and they have, you know, Christmas in them and New Year's and a little dusting of snow, and then this came along. So today is about perspective, and it's about giving it up for Lent. And if you feel like you've given up too much already, I'm talking about a perspective change rather than unloading inventory. There's a fellow named Dr. Edward Viljoen who is the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living. And he has been posting a 40-day Lenten spiritual practice that Reverend Lisa has added to our Facebook page, and you can follow it there. Now, I know Edward, we go way back, and so I think I can trust this. Why am I looking at the end of this instead of at you? Every time I look at Brian, I see the end of the microphone thing. He's only 5 days into it, is Edward, but I don't think he's going to be talking about giving up material goods. I don't think he's going to be talking about even giving up bad habits. He's talking about perspective. He's talking about a shift in consciousness and how you look at life. And that's where I want to take us this morning, is a shift in consciousness, because one is due to think of ourselves as something more than we are. That's what Lent means to me. I'm not a traditional Christian, so I take the liberty of interpretation, as this place does. And to me, Lent is about deepening. It's about softening. It's about going within and preparing for some magical new rebirth, magical yet natural, that occurs for all of us, that's represented by the resurrection of the Christ and represented in other older faith systems as well at this time of the year in our hemisphere. Well, as I prepare to deepen, as I go within and I sort through my inner inventory, what I find there is the only thing that stands between me and communion with the divine is my set of beliefs, my set of opinions, the stuff that I have cemented in place as being true for me. My limited perspective on how things are and how things can be in the future. This is what I have to address. This is what we talk about here all the time. There's nothing wrong with your relationship with God. There never has been, there never could be. The only place to work is within the beliefs that we hold about ourselves. So I've been reading, it's Black History Month, and I've been reading a lot of history. I've been reading Black history, and I've been reading New Thought history, because I've got an event concerning that coming up. And the two are very much involved with one another. And something that's jumped out at me as I've been doing this is the recognition that history is not just about dead people. History is not just about what happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago with some person that you've never heard of and they're no longer on the planet and they did this great thing and it should be understood. There's plenty of that, but there's plenty of now. There are plenty of people living now who are making history. Well, really all of us are making history. We made history this past week. But there are people who in their lives and careers are making history in profound ways. And one of these is Lorraine O'Grady. And I invite you to look her up. Lorraine O'Grady is an artist. At the age of 45, she had her first art exhibit. I love it when I say you should look her up and a couple of people in the room immediately start to. That is so cool. That is so cool. So fact check me as I go along here, because I'm working from memory, because that's how I prefer to do it, rather than read you off a list of bullet points about who people are and what they've done, you know. At the age of 45, she decided she wanted to be an artist. Prior to that, she'd been a writer, a translator. She'd been an intelligence analyst for the U.S. government. She'd been a rock critic, a music critic. Okay, among other things. In 1973, she went to a show in New York, her home. Now, her parents are from Jamaica. She was born in Boston, and she's been in New York for most of her life. And she went to a show in New York by a new musical group called Bob Marley and the Wailers. And she wrote a review of this group, and the paper that she worked for wouldn't print it. What they said to her, and this is perplexing, they said, it's too soon. It's too soon in 1973. It's too soon for Bob Marley and the Wailers. Well, I know, it's so cryptic. What, you know, when is the right time? It's since been published in many collections of reviews and so on. But she's faced racism and she's faced misogyny her whole life, and she is a black feminist artist who came up with an alter ego for herself called Mademoiselle Bourgeois Noir. And she would, in the 70s, there'd be an art opening. And this is, I'm thinking in the kind of Andy Warhol days, you know, that whole scene of 70s New York. And she would show up and she would basically invade the art opening in costume as Mademoiselle Bourgeois Noir to make the point there's no diversity represented here. It's linear and it's white and it's structured and it's a particular school, you know. And we need more. We need more. And so in her artwork, starting when she was 45, her position has been to have people realize that they themselves are works of art. And so in her name and in her legacy, I want to offer that to you today, to think of yourself as a work of art. And to think of yourself as a particular kind of work of art, which is complete in the moment, rather than future good. So often in metaphysics, we're like, when I have it all together, I will be someone to be reckoned with, you know? When I have enough money, when I have enough friends, when I've accomplished all of these different things, then you're going to see how great I am. And we push it out in front of us. We kick it down the street in front of us instead of owning it now. That right now, just the way you are. And you don't have to pretty yourself up for this. You can. You can costume up. It was just Mardi Gras. It was just Carnival, you know, a different kind. You can costume up, and you can decorate and accessorize yourself, you know, and you can wear different identities, I guess, in the world for the purpose of expression, but none of them increase your basic worth. All they are is, they're fun, you know. But you are, right now, a work of art, and you are complete. And by complete, I go with Ernest Holmes here, by complete, I don't mean finished. I don't mean done. But I do mean lacking nothing. And in this context, actually, complete means the same thing as perfect. Because when Ernest Holmes and other New Thought teachers, they tell you, well, you're perfect. And I've had people argue about that and fight back, me included. It's like, you don't know me. I don't know who you're talking about, but it's not me. When you say perfect. Perfect's not flawless. Perfect is all-inclusive, like a circle. And every circle, you draw a circle, and every circle, if you magnify it up enough, you'll see its little wavy lines, like the pencil on the paper, right? Nothing is absolutely straight. Nothing is absolutely articulated, just perfectly. It's all a bit obscure, a bit random. There's a field of randomness. There's a margin for randomness in there, in your perfection and in my perfection. We don't know exactly what's going to happen next. We don't know exactly how we're going to handle things. So Lorraine O'Grady, at age 45, decided to become an artist. I don't know if she left everything else behind that she'd been doing or if she just added this to all of that. But today, this year, at age 86, she gets her first full show at the Brooklyn Museum, a retrospective at age 86 of her life's work. I say congratulations to her and thank you on behalf of the human family for not losing faith in your art, for not losing faith in your world over these many years that it's taken you to get this level of recognition that you so richly deserve. And I say that to each of us. It may take a while in terms of Earth years. And it's outrageous sometimes when it does, when people are held back. I mean, it's always outrageous when people are held back by the culture, by the stupidity of things, the investments that we've made and how things need to look. Sometimes it appears like it's out of our control. The weather shows up and stuff gets put on hold, you know. We don't predict exactly what's going to happen. But I wanted to say this, that I think is probably being said in every faith community around, and I drive past like 6 of them, I think, on the way here on a Sunday morning, you know. And I think probably everybody, every person giving a sermon of any kind today is saying something like this. Your power went out. There's a power that doesn't. There's a power that doesn't go out. And that's where you turned. That's where each of us turned. Power outages have ranged in the creative life community, so far as I know at this moment, from the amazing team of people who have called hundreds of our families. And if you didn't get a call, make sure we have your phone number going forward for such times as these. But what I've heard is from 4 hours to 80 hours so far. And there's one family, and we know who they are in Northeast Texas, who are still struggling trying to get power because they're in an area that's not too well served by the grid, if any place was well served by the grid. But we're not. I had grid guilt. I had grid guilt for a while because I'm closer to the 4 hour end, you know, and we're not real happy with the grid right now. But the grid designer with a capital D is still who I go to. The power with a capital P, the power that made everything, is where we turn. And so when the lights went off and it got cold in your house and maybe pipes burst and there was some flooding, and we've had some of that, there was a power that you went to, and it was the same power you went to during Harvey, and you went to during Ike, and you went to during Allison and Alicia, and every other event that we've had, named or unnamed. And it's the power that you've gone to privately at the times that we don't know about, you know, the private sufferings and losses that we have. There is a power. And the power is never dormant, but it does seem to have for us seasons. It has a time where it's like producing, manifesting one thing after another, and it has times when it's like, just look unto me, be calm, be still and know, center within yourself, be still and know that some good is coming of all of this. So as I say, Dr. Edward Viljoen going forward, I don't know what he's going to ask us to give up, and I'm a little sketchy about that because when I was a little bitty kid, I had a distant relative who was a very religious man who separated me from my favorite toy dump truck. I had it was a cement mixer. That's the thing, and it had colored balls in the mixing part of this, and I got it for my birthday. Some of you have heard this story, and I always expect people are going to send me little cement mixers. You know, there, it's all right. My birthday's in early December, and so I was given this thing, and I was like, I don't know, 3, 4, and you'd run it up. And this is a long time ago, kids. This is back when mostly you had, Brian and Jeffrey know, you had to play with, you had a block of wood and a piece of string. I mean, that was basically it, because we're talking primitive times here. But I had this truck, and when the wheels turned, it made the cement mixer part turn and all. And I was fascinated by this full thing, and it probably made people crazy because it made, a noise. And I'd run it up and down the carpet, and this distant relative of the family came to town, and it was coming up Lent, and he said, let's give that to the poor. And so away went my truck. This did not instill in me a generous spirit toward the poor. This did not have the intended effect at all. This made me mad. And it was one more kind of dent that organized religion took in the heart of a little kid. It took me a while to begin to sort through. I get where that was going, and it's about attachment, and it's about meaning, and so forth and so on. But it all tracks back ultimately to consciousness. What am I willing to release? So when I say let's give it up for Lent, what am I going to give up? My limited perspective on things, what I think things are about, my opinions. Everywhere I have a strong opinion, I have shut off the flow of available spontaneity, inspiration, elevation, joy. Oh, it's this again. Here it comes again. Reverend Lisa last week, in the run-up to the weather that we were expecting, that was at that point just an app result, Reverend Lisa, you may recall, at the end of the service got up here and said, let's look at this like little kids would. When the snow starts to fall, let's, instead of like, oh, this could be a problem, let's turn it into little snow people, and let's turn it into, wow, winter wonderland. And I went out of here singing that in my head, and we all did. Oh, we can still do that. This doesn't have to be the end of the story for all of this. We don't have to fear the seasons. We don't have to fear each other. We don't have to fear each other. We don't have to fear each other. Look at these people. Look at the, did you read? I got a list in my head of this. I could spend the rest of the day with you. The guy, 140 drivers he helped. Did you see this? He says he had a back problem. He has an injury of some kind. He says, I can't lift stuff. He says, one side of my one arm doesn't work real well. But he says, I have a truck. I have a four-wheel drive truck. And somewhere in North Texas, this guy went around and found 140 stranded drivers, 140 vehicles that he was able to push off the roadway and get them to help. People could have died in their cars, but for this man. Okay? That's the kind of world I want to live in. That's the beloved community I mentioned last week and that Reverend Ronnie and I are going to talk about a week from Wednesday. That's the kind of world I want to live in. Or there's the story of the couple also in North Texas, and there are plenty of good stories out of South Texas, because I know how we feel about Dallas sometimes, being Houstonians, and people crossing their arms. Well, what about down here? Well, there are plenty of great stories down here involving sea turtles, for one thing. Okay? But a great North Texas story, you may have seen this, a couple Sunday night, as the bad weather was rolling in, decided they wanted to order groceries. And so they called a store, and the groceries were sent via their own delivery service. The woman driving the truck comes out to wherever it's some suburban area, and she comes out to this place, and she looks, and their house is down an incline at the bottom of a hill. You know, they have hills in North Texas, by the way. They're not quite mountains. They're those sort of round things that, anyway, you see. And so she sees, and she thinks this could be dicey getting this van down there, but I got to try. And she puts it in first, heads down, hits the ice, skids down the thing into a tree. Not hard enough to hurt her or the van much, but the tree is kind of shot. And there she is, and the thing's stuck, and she can't get out of this driveway. And so she goes to the door with these people's boxes of groceries, and they invite her in, and they say, well, you know, and she's called AAA. I'm not supposed to mention brands on air. Anyway, call the Auto Club. And she does, and they tell her eventually after many calls, we can't help you, we can't get to you. And she tries various car services, and they can't help and stuff. And so what did they do? They made up a guest room for her. They fed her a steak dinner. And she was 5 days with these people. And she went on TV and she said, total strangers invited me into their house. But they're not strangers anymore. That's the kind of world I want to live in. Does that sort of thing happen every day? It does. It does. It gets reported on at times like these. But the kindness and generosity of people, and I know sometimes you get real tired of hearing this, that every time there's some kind of disaster, well, look at the generosity and kindness of people, you know, that's the upside of it. And it's like, well, there's a whole lot of accountability not being taken, and so let's go there. I do say let's go there, but not with the feeling energy. Take the feeling energy into the kindness and generosity of people, because that's what you want, and that's what I want as the end result of accountability. It's not enough for just everybody to say, I made a mistake and I'm sorry and we'll do it better next time. It's like, let's see changed behavior in the world. Let's see a whole new way of being in the world. And so next Saturday is an opportunity to show kindness in the world, generosity in the world, with a fixed time frame of 3 hours or less, a fixed body of work where you're not going to have to carry the load for everybody else. It's a simple matter of lifting and bending and putting it in. If you can't do that, as Danielle mentioned, there are other things we have for you to do. And you'll watch 200 families or so, comprising 600 or 700 individuals or so. You'll watch them file past, get to interact with each one of them, and express kindness and generosity to them, as well as give them some food and water and things that they need going forward. It's a wonderful thing to do. And like I say, it's a real collapsed time frame. It's not a lifetime commitment of selfless service, It's just this. It's just this. And if you like it, there's more. There's more. There are all kinds of places where you can go and things that you can do here at this center and plenty of other centers and so on, So much that can be done. And finally this, if you're looking for a payoff, because if we're going to, shut down Mardi Gras and go into Lent and do all of this deep, heavy, inward, quiet stuff, we'd like there to be a payoff at some point. We'd like there to be, some good come to us from it. That's not selfish. That's just human. Well, there is. I just can't tell you where it's coming from. But a large supermarket chain here in our state found out where it's coming from when they had a store full of people in Leander, I think it was, and power went out. All these people are in there. They got their full shopping carts. The height of the storm, or I guess right before the height of the storm, and the power went out, and they're all stuck. And a lot of people pay with plastic, and so lines formed at the checkout counters, which you could dimly see. And when people got to the checkout counter, the checkers looked at what they had and said, "Go, go, all of them, go, take it. Free groceries for everybody in the store. Free groceries for everybody in the store." Part of me says at corporate they were having a fit. No, I don't think so. Free groceries, go. Since then, this company's social media and all have been bombarded with questions from those people who are in that store saying, "To what charity? To what charity shall I give the amount I would have paid for what you gave me? To what charity?" And so some charities, some which are struggling now in the pandemic, are benefiting as a result of this. What goes around comes around. Basic metaphysics. When we say this highfalutin stuff like it's done unto you as you believe, and we quote some Bible at you, it really comes back to what goes around comes around. As above, so below. As below, so above. It is a reciprocal universe in which we live. Your good is assured. So throughout this Lent, I will be back with you on the first Sunday. I'll be speaking every Sunday in March, so far as I know. Next Sunday, you have His Awesomeness, Reverend Arthur Johnson on this stage. Do not miss this man. If you've not heard him before, if you're new with us online, you are in for a real treat, an unexpected treat. If you have heard him before, then you know. But every message, he takes us further and further in, doesn't he? So let us know together now as we live amongst our neighbors and friends and ancestors and all future generations that there is one life, one power, one presence. And this power, as we know, does not go out. It does not dim. It is never overloaded. Every yearning heart places its claim on this power all at once, and it delivers. So I claim, speaking into its creative law, wholeness, harmony, peace, happiness, prosperity for everyone listening, and everyone whom they love, and everyone whom they love, and in endless circles outward, and in present time and circumstance, I claim an easy, complete, permanent cleanup to every mess, repair to every pipe, every bit of ceiling material, roofing material, appliances, automobiles, whatever systemically has been affected. I affirm and know a physical healing for every person suffering in any way, be it from this latest experience or from the coronavirus or something else. I affirm and know the power is on. The power that made that person is that person. The mind that made a star is the mind that I'm using right now, that is being used by all right now. I affirm and know jobs, income, transportation, company for all. And maybe most of all, I affirm hope. As I affirm these things, there is a power that receives them and responds. It has no ability, much less the desire, to cull through what's handed to it, sorting it out as less or more likely. It only knows I am, the I am. And as I know this about we the people here in this area having this experience, so the knowing is broadened to all people everywhere who struggle, who suffer, the people who feel left behind. There is a power. It hears you, it knows you, it responds to you now. And in our rapidly awakening world, you take your rightful place as the work of art that you are. For this knowing and its manifestation in form everywhere we turn, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
Okay. First thing I want to do is give you a gift that I got this week. And I don't remember which one it was, but the CSL convention was this week, and I got to go because the roads were icy and I couldn't go to work. And in one of the workshops, she explained, one, why you breathe this way, and then two, exactly how to do it. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is to breathe in through your nose and then exhale through your mouth. So take a nice deep breath in, and then relax and release it through your mouth. Take another one. In through the nose, and then relax and breathe through your mouth, out through your mouth. Okay. Now then she explained to us why you breathe that way. Because one, it activates your nervous system. It tells your body you're safe. And the reason that's important is because when you are in a situation of fight or flight, which pretty much all of last week was, even though we couldn't run anywhere because the roads were too icy, your critical thinking functions, your executive thinking functions, use the same fuel that your fight or flight does. And so when you are in fight or flight, your critical thinking functions are shut off, which is why we make the decisions we do. So that simple technique of breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth will help to relax your nervous system and allow your executive function, your critical thinking skills, to come back. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're kind of, take a couple of minutes, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. It will restore you, it will literally restore your brain power. So, and now that you know why that works, I encourage you to do it more often. There's some techniques that we learn as we go through this. You'll hear Danielle do it where she kind of, as she says, be here now, and her voice drops a little bit. That's another one. That's another one that we learned that helps to ground and center you. So with that, I'm going to encourage you to take that nice deep breath. Relax as you release the breath. And for one moment, set everything aside. Absolutely everything. And be here now. And know that there is one life, one love, one power, one presence. And that presence is with us always, deep inside, surrounding us, holding us, loving us. And I'm knowing that resources are moving now. They are moving to where they need to be. That the assistance that people require is coming. We've already seen great things happen. We have seen money from all over the country be raised. We have seen all kinds of wonderful tips given to us from the Northerners on how to deal with this. So we are knowing that it is moving, and we are knowing this power, we are knowing this presence, we are knowing this life, and we are knowing this love. And we are knowing that we are the hands and feet of this love. And I know this love with all of the gratitude in my being, and I relax and know that it is so, and so it is.
Say it with me now. Something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use
And
it.
I love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
And so it is.